ranking of Pixar feature films with my friends from ImagineeringDisney.com on this episode of the Movies Past and Present podcast. Hello and welcome to the Movies Past and Present podcast. It's December 27th, 2025, and this is episode 143. I'm your host, Stanford Clark, and I'm podcasting from the crossroads of the West in beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah. Just like my website, moviespastandpresent.com, I'll be providing recommendations, commentary, and reviews about current and classic cinema. Thanks for tuning in, and let's do this thing. I'm joined today by my good friends from Imagineering Disney, Mitch and Lily. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Good to be back.
So glad you're back. How are you both?
Doing
Terrific.
so good.
It's great to be back.
Well, thanks so much for taking the time to be on the podcast again. Last time we talked, Mitch had this great idea about looking at the last 15 years of films, feature films from Walt Disney Animation Studios, and we ranked them and had a discussion. So we decided to do the same thing for Pixar Animation Studios, to go over the films for the last 15 years. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about our top. There are 19 films total that Pixar has released from the last 15 years. So we're just going to talk about our top 5, and we'll see where we go from there. Because in a way, it was kind of hard to rank. How was the ranking process for you both?
Tough. It was tough.
Yeah, it was hard for me too. I went back and forth on a few. But yeah, I mean, there's some really good films in this list.
Yeah, there are some good films, and there's some ones that, again, I think another reason why we decided, because we were talking about this beforehand, that I mean, if we were going through all 19 films, that would take us, 3 days. We don't have time for that. But also, a lot of those the chunk of films in the middle, for me, I like them almost equally. I mean, maybe there's little nitpicks, and that's what I had to really analyze as I was doing my ranking. But
same.
There's a lot of films there that it would kind of maybe put in the middle, but they're good, they're solid. And then of course there's some ones at the bottom, which hopefully we'll be able to get to a bit. But we'll focus on the positive stuff first. We're going to go over our top 5 films from Pixar over the last 15 years. And Lily, why don't we start with you? What do you have at your number 5?
I have Inside Out too. And I'll just say now that I have Inside Out, the first Inside Out, as 4. I think these movies were just so well done, and I have so much good to say about them. I think that for one, it's just good storytelling. Like, it's the characters are great. I think the story really draws you in. I think it's so relatable, and the moments at the ends of the film, in both cases, where you have anxiety sitting in the chair, and then at the end of the original Inside Out, where joy and sadness come together, and they create the marble together. It's just like they have such really beautiful moments in them that I love them. And another reason why I feel like they're in the top 5 for me is I use them all the time when I'm trying to relate to people. What I'm saying, hey, like, this is how a belief got formed, or these are feelings, but like these feelings are like, I feel both of these feelings at the same time. It's so easy to say, like an Inside Out, like the emotions, and they sometimes kind of run things, like I find myself referencing it so frequently, and I feel grateful for it, to be like, it's like that, it's like the movie, we've all seen the movie.
I love that, Lily. That's like the perfect, way to apply it to real life situations, because it's good, it's effective.
Totally.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's Mitch, after you. Sorry.
No, just to say that it's from the mind of the great Pete Docter. Right?
Yeah.
He did Up and others. He has kind of the most maybe creative mind of all the Pixar uh, filmmakers, and so it's very much a product of Pete Docter, which I really love, and and then there's that kind of dotted line that connects it to Epcot Center's Cranium Command.
Cranium Command.
As
Yeah.
a young animator, he was on the animation team
Yeah, he
for
was on the team for that, right, Mitch? That's
Cranium.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there's, and that's about a story about the kind of like the inner voices of a young boy, and there's a nice parallel, and so yeah, I like it. I like those.
Uh, Mitch, what do you have as your number 5?
My number 5 is Onward. Now, and I'm almost shocked that it landed on number 5, because I had to put in a lot of considerations, like for all of these, of course, like we all did, and normally the Onward sort of vibe is not my thing, right? In the words of Lily, it's kind of like a decent DreamWorks film, basically.
Yeah.
That's right. To quote Lily.
Like the modern slang and the kind of pop culture-y sort of things mixed in with some um, you know ancient mythology and whatnot. Um, that's not my thing normally. Like Shrek did that, and I have a lot of issues with that. But that's not Pixar. Onward, it doesn't feel quite like a Pixar film. However, uh, as I speak, it doesn't sound like I even like the film, but it is in my top 5 because I think the whole idea of like these ancient mythological worlds had slowly evolved into kind of a modern suburban lifestyle where your pet might be a small dragon and unicorns might be digging through your trash like dogs, and your neighbor might be an elf and your other neighbor might be a fairy, and you might have some sort of magical power or you might not, and they all kind of live together and they go to school, and it's it's an interesting take on it, and I do really like the adventure that the two brothers go on to kind of um, connect with their dead father. Um, so even though I have a lot of notes, the thing that really kind of solidified this for my number 5 is that I've seen it through the eyes of my children, because
Hmm.
they're not all like jaded like I am. They're not going to be critical like me. And they really embraced Onward since the beginning, and they want to watch it pretty regularly. And I see that they really appreciate that. And these are my kids don't really like the fantasy genre too much, and a little bit, but they really have responded well to Onward. So I give it a spot on my top 5 because maybe just a fun factor. Like it's a fun watch. And if I'm not too cynical and too critical of like the annoying little things that are shoved in there, I think it's neat.
I really appreciate what you bring up about that, Mitch, because well, I have it lower on my list. It's on my top 5, but you reminded me though, the world building in Onward is incredibly creative, isn't it? As far as you mentioned, the way that they bring all these kind of mythical creatures together, and also I was the trying to connect with their deceased dad was emotionally resonant, for me too.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I also love the Brandy Carlisle song in it. I think it's a really cool.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
How did you feel, Mitch, about the ending? I'm curious with it being
Yes.
number 5, like,
Yeah.
did you
Oh,
struggle with, like, the both brothers didn't get to spend time with their
yeah.
dad? Or, like, I'm curious how that landed for you.
I didn't like that. I mean, I thought they both could have had their moment with their dad. Um, eh, not a big fan of that, but I do think that there was a lot of consideration in going that route, and um, if I don't overthink it, I can enjoy the moment, and just think, okay, they've accomplished their mission, they accomplished what they set out to accomplish, and they both did connect with their dad in a way. So overall, thumbs up from me.
Well,
Yeah.
and I felt, yeah, and I felt too that that it was while it was a bummer that they didn't really get to connect with their dad, the brothers really built a bridge over for themselves,
Yeah.
right? And I guess that felt somewhat satisfying, or maybe like is it a consolation prize? I don't know what you'd
Yeah.
call that, but it still felt satisfying to me. And I think it's one of the many hallmarks of Pixar films that we three talked about is just how emotionally real they are. What a good job they do for the most part with these emotions. That to me, they always feel it just feels very real, even if it's in a fantasy setting. Everything feels very authentic to me.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think that they pulled it off nicely, kind of in an unconventional Pixar way, because it's not like their other films, in the way that the tone and the style is quite different. The story itself, the kind of the overall arching story kind of feels pretty Pixar-ish, but then the way it's kind of executed is more kind of like a maybe DreamWorks style, but better. I mean, it works. It seems to work um, in a way that you know it's worthy of my top five.
Yeah, yeah. Well, these are great picks. Lily, I'm copying you. It sounds like because I've got for my number four, number five. So number five for me is Inside Out 2, and then number four is Inside Out as well,
Yeah.
for all the reasons that you stated. So in such an excellent manner, that I was I was surprised. I mean, I loved the original Inside Out, and again, just like you were saying, Mitch, just the brilliance of Pete Docter, right? Just
Mhm.
shines through on that film. I was a little skeptical about Inside Out 2, given that not all the voice cast was returning and that Pete Docter wasn't directing it, and but I was wrong. It's so good.
It's a
Uh,
very worthy sequel.
Well,
yeah,
and I also think with Inside Out too, the emotions, like, I, just thought there were emotions that got left out of Inside Out, the original Inside Out, you know? And
Yeah,
so the fact that those emotions then showed up in Inside Out too, I felt actually kind of fulfilled, like, "Yeah, exactly,
yes.
we need to cast in these emotions as well," you know? So I love that. And can we also just talk about Maya Hawke? Like, her voice was
Wow,
so good. I just
so good.
her. I love her. I'm doing the rewatch of Stranger Things, you know, and
Nice.
you
Okay,
know,
get
with
ready for season five.
that's right. And every time she talks, I'm like, "Oh, she was so good as Anxiety. Has such a great voice."
She really was an excellent choice. And what a great character. I was talking to a friend who thought that having both anxiety and fear was a bit redundant, but I didn't think so. I
no,
thought that.
Yeah.
What are your opinions on that?
I had
Yeah.
the same thought going in, and it ended up working out really well.
Well, and I think it showed that they have different jobs, you know, that they
Yeah,
have,
right.
different things that they're trying to accomplish. So I thought, yeah, it was good.
And what was, again, satisfying in the original as well as in the sequel, just the journey that the Riley character is going on. I mean, I know that we're
Yeah.
focused on Riley's brain, right? But uh, talk about like just kind of a classic teenager experience, right? That I think probably anybody
Yeah,
we could all relate to,
Yep.
right?
So
In a lot of ways.
Yes, so
I
relatable.
think the Riley character really is so endearing, and for me, it really makes the story like what it is, like great as it is. I think she's very relatable, like having to move to another city and the friend thing, and like all the emotions that are in her mind and everything. Like they did super good job with her. And then what sometimes might be annoying is that a sequel will address that same character like in later stages of life, and it doesn't always land. But with this sequel, it landed, I think, perfectly. My family has a debate on which of the two is a better film, and we can't agree on it because everybody's like, what kind of going back and forth,
Yeah,
which is rare for a movie and its sequel.
I
Yeah.
agree. And again, why I had a hard time distinguishing. That's why I just put them so close together in my ranking. I just think they're both incredibly
And
solid, in their own way.
if it's okay, I'll express the reasons why my top five do not include either Inside Out film.
Oh yeah,
And this is I I'll start by saying I have warmed up a lot to the two films because at first I was very critical of the original, and I felt like I was in the extreme minority with that. When everybody loved it and saw great things about it. I was put off a little bit about this one thing that was reoccurring that didn't seem to bother anybody else, but it was a trend that I'd seen in other movies at the time. Wreck It Ralph was guilty of this, I think, and it's that the characters got into many conflicts and then got out of those conflicts very conveniently over and over again. So it repeated itself to where there are these kind of filler quests, little mini quests that were in the middle of the movie, the second act. And like I said, I've warmed up to it because the more I watch it, my kids love watching it, my wife loves it. The more I start to see that it's not as it's not the problem that I thought it was. But when a character, somebody at Pixar one time said years ago, like in the early days, he said publicly, he said you can get your character into a situation through a coincidence, but never use a coincidence to get them out of a situation, right?
Hmm.
Um, you can have your character, their car break down in the middle of the desert, but don't have, and this is me speaking, not the Pixar guy, but don't have a mechanic with the correct tools and parts to fix it happen to just walk by in the middle.
Just happened to show up. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of that going on. Like I said, Wreck It Ralph as well, and it was kind of a common thing in the other studios and their films, where there were a lot of like short-lived conflicts that were perfectly solved by something completely coincidental and random. And I've got, since gotten past most of that, but there's still a little bit of that going in, and that alone was what kind of bumped mine down the list a little bit further. Just not that anybody cares, why I didn't put
Oh,
it
it's
on the
good.
list, but
No, it's good.
No, it is good.
Yeah, it's a good and I do feel like they were trying to fit in multiple psychological, they're like, "We've gotta get this aspect of psychology in here, and then we've gotta get this
yeah,
aspect in," so it's like,
Right.
"Okay, we probably coulda cut out a couple of those things," but
You
the
know,
the
oh,
randomness is part of the story, right? I love that they go into like an abstract form and then a flat 2D form, and you got these different kind of
yeah.
like states of being, and Bing Bong shows up, and imaginary friend, and then like, there are a lot of kind of like seemingly random things thrown in there, but that's the brain, right? That's the world that they have created within the brain. So I can't fault them for that too much, and so it does make it interesting. I hate to be too critical of this, that kind of randomness in mini crisis after mini crisis. That's really part of the charm as well. So I do give them that.
yeah. They
Yeah.
they were well researched too, like, I felt like,
Yes.
they were very thoughtful about how they told the story and how they talked about the brain and emotion, I appreciated that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Mitch, one thing too, just regarding Onward, that I think applies to a lot of Pixar movies, in that, uh, and I know we've talked some about this off mic, but I think Pixar just has such excellent uh, art direction, and I think sometimes, if not all the time, that's what elevates a Pixar film above a DreamWorks film.
Hmm.
Is it just the color palette and the art, the character design and the art direction and all the production design is I just think it's just superior. And so even if sometimes the story goes in kind of a DreamWorksy way, I still feel like the art or the artistry of Pixar brings it up a notch. What do you both think
Yes.
about that? Am I speaking the truth here, or is it just being overly opinionated?
That's something I was going to bring up with one of my films higher up on the list, because to me it does make a difference in the enjoyment of watching the film. Like there is a truth to that. There are films that are created by other studios where some of the characters are so off-putting in the way that they look and maybe the way that
Mhm.
they talk, or the voice acting, that it's hard to really appreciate the bigger story, even if that story is good. So there is a definite element of that, and I absolutely consider that in my ranking, because that is part of storytelling in this medium.
Yeah, agreed, agreed. Yeah, the characters matter, and one thing I appreciate about Pixar too is how much the characters mean to them, like, even when you hear the artist talking about them afterwards, it's like they are even when, I remember when Disney had done their 5 movie deal, and then they were gonna do spinoffs of the movies, and they were so upset because they were like, "We have so much care for these characters and how we built them," and, you know, there's like their children, and you can feel that in the films.
Michael Eisner was kind of holding that over their heads, like, "Hey, we're going to do direct to video sequels of
Yeah.
your favorite characters, like
Have
Toy Story characters." And
Disney Toon Studios, do
Yeah.
their, they're making Cinderella 3 next door, as they're doing
Right.
one of
Yeah.
these Pixar.
It was like their kids were being kidnapped, like, it was
Yeah,
so
yeah.
great. Yeah.
Uh, okay, so Lily and I both then have the same 4 and 5. So Mitch, what's your number 4?
okay, so my number 4 is Monsters University, and for a number of reasons. One, I think it's a very solid, not sequel, prequel, and we don't see that much in the world of animation. We don't see a lot of
Oh, we
prequels.
don't see prequels. It's really
Yeah.
unusual.
And as
Yeah.
frustrated as we all get with sequels and like just the number of sequels, basically half of the slate is always sequels, maybe more. I like that they did a prequel to one of, in my opinion, best Pixar films all of all time. I
Yeah.
think that it's a very early film, but Monsters Inc. Again, Pete Docter, Monsters Inc. is brilliant, and it was nice to go back into that world many years later. They were able to do a lot more with that world than they could the first time. They introduced new characters that I thought were really fun. I like the university setting. I like the way that they got their jobs in the on the scare floor eventually. I like the scare program and just that kind of backdrop of a school and classroom and fraternities and sororities and everything. And I love the fraternity that they put together with kind of underdog monsters, scarers, right? And it's full of gags, really good gags, similar to the gags in the first original one. Not saying that I like it better than the original one, but I think that um, it it did a lot for me to go back to um, that story and expand that story and revisit that world. And um, as a longtime Monsters Inc. fan, it uh, it did something for me. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are good
Yeah.
points. They're good points.
What are your thoughts about it, Lily?
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I like what you were pulling out about the prequel and sort of bringing us back into that world. I mean, Monsters is a really great it's just a great world. Like the whole concept and the Scream Factory and everything. So, um, yeah, I think that those are really good points.
I appreciate those points too, Mitch. I love this film. I have it in my kind of second tier, kind of grouped within my second tier of films. It's not in my top 5, but I think it's a really, really good film for all the reasons that you stated. I think too, for me, what was so interesting was the story that they told, or just how it unfolded, and uh, that these guys get kicked out of school.
Yeah,
And that was so interesting because it wasn't, I think in kind of a more traditional way, and probably as I was watching, I think, oh, there's something that's going to happen and they're going to get an exception or whatever, and they're going to be able to stay, but they don't.
nope.
And, and I actually really liked that. I thought it was a brave storytelling choice in a way, in that uh, it's so non-traditional, but also like real life, like stuff like that can happen in real life, and these characters they figure out a way to make it work, and then look what becomes of them. I thought it was inspiring and really cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think they did a good job with that part of it, and um, it was kind of a out of character thing for them to do as at Pixar, to kind of give their lead characters a major disappointment, but then they gave them a different path that ended up working out really good.
Exactly. So that different path that doesn't seem to get talked about a lot, you know, but that's very realistic in its own, its
And
own way.
I gotta put a plug in for my family's favorite gag in that movie is the slug character. So like, the little student that's like on the first day of school, he doesn't want to be late, and he's like
Trying to get to class on time.
like trying so fast, but he's like barely moving along the sidewalk, and like by the end of the movie, he still like hasn't gone very far. Like it's such a funny little monster being.
That's a great gag.
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh, Good gags, gorgeous animation too. It's just a solid film. Yeah.
yeah.
All right, are we ready to move then? Are we moving to number 3? Lily, do you want to give us your number 3 on your list?
Okay, my number 3 is Toy Story 3. Um, so first of all, I just love the Toy Story films. I just think they are the heart of Pixar, and I think the characters, um, just like I said before, Pixar really cares for their characters, and I think that they have just done a really good job of staying true to, this is how Woody would respond to this. This is how Buzz would respond. This is how Jesse would respond. And so I think that uh, these characters are really well done on that front. And I also just really enjoyed the ending. I think we're gonna probably disagree about this, Stan and I, in a second, but I think that the films probably should have ended there.
Look, I absolutely agree with you. I agree with
Okay,
you.
you
But
do.
I'll be anxious to talk with you. Yeah, too. Yeah, it's just yes.
'Cause I thought it was a great ending. I thought the story was really good. I thought they did a really great balance of mixing the characters we know and love with new characters. Um, and one thing I really like too about the 3 Toy Story films is the way that they like a pet peeve that I have on sequels is like the same villain keeps coming back and back and back, so that they really rethink the villain and bring in a new villain. And I just thought Toy Story 3 was so great. I love this big fluffy pink bear is the
It
villain.
smells like strawberries.
It was so great. Like I
And
just
they tied him to the front of the garbage truck.
I love it's so satisfying. I mean, it's a Prison Break movie, and
yeah,
it's so great. Well, and Lily, what I completely agree with you in that uh, Toy Story 3 was a absolutely perfect conclusion to
yeah,
that story.
yes.
And yeah, uh, I'm kind of surprised at my own choice, which we'll get into here in a bit, but yeah, it was like, and we needed another Toy Story movie. Why? Because 3 was perfect. It was perfect.
Yeah. I also found as someone who loved her toys as a child, I found it so relatable, this moment that Andy has where he's like, "Oh, like, what are we giving these away? Like, what are we doing? Are they just gonna stay in a bag up in the attic?" And so having that moment where he, like, gives his toys to be given a new life, and he gives even Woody away at the end of the film. I just like for some, I'm very sentimental about particular toys as well. And, I have my own moments of like, oh, well, I guess it's time to give this to someone else to enjoy it, and I thought that was so relatable.
And they advertised that ending as the close of the franchise. Like we didn't just suspect that would be the last of the franchise. We were told that they're not going to make any more. It was like this number 3 is going to wrap up the trilogy. It they tied a perfect bow around it, and it's ready. You know, we're done. And then they brought in number 4, and even though I have number 4 that I'll be talking about in a minute, it was hard to like be given such perfect closure,
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
like, oh, just kidding, we're gonna reopen this.
Psych.
I would
Yeah.
say, like, I was hoping that Andy would give all the box of toys to Sid, but
Yeah.
but I guess the Molly girl would be a better fit. I just thought maybe we could see more of the like sadistic torture stuff from number 1.
And Sid the garbage man, right?
Yeah.
Ah, that whole
Like
thing.
like Sid is in prison and like they have to go sneak into prison, and he's like doing all this time, and he's just like, yeah.
I love it.
No, I love number 3. Very worthy of a top 5 list.
Yeah, it's a perfect movie. You know, again, the perfect conclusion of this, just in these 3 incredible films, and so emotional. You know, who wasn't crying at the end of that movie? You know, just that incredible last shot that they have as Andy's driving off, and they're just all sitting there on the porch. It's such a good film. Well, and also, again, as we're talking about, just the great kind of adventure comedy as they're trying to break out of the prison, the daycare prison, and that whole scene at the incinerator. I mean, it's really intense.
Yes.
You know, but again, just great filmmaking, and again about these characters that I think we all really care about too. They're beloved, aren't they? Just as you were saying, Lily, they're beloved to the creators, and I think beloved to the audience. You know, the film audience that loves these films.
Yeah.
There was rumor that Toy Story 3 would be set in a daycare, and there was a lot of kind of like grumbling about it. People didn't want that. They thought, why are we doing this? They pulled it off in a way that was like so perfect, with the like those kind of like more the meaner toys that were, where they live, like behind the wall or whatever.
Yes.
You know, you got the monkey with the like surveillance.
Yeah,
And, like, you have these so funny little moments set in a daycare, but brilliantly done.
Yeah.
I thought they added so much to this franchise.
I also love the moment when the toys are, because there's the 2 age groups of the kids, and the moment that the toys are like,
Yes.
I think that we're not in the right you know, when the
Kids are like
right age.
toys.
Barbie's being used to like paint as a paintbrush, you know.
And then Ken is like,
oh, Ken. Just like Barbie and Ken steal the show, particularly Ken,
man.
right?
Ken is so hilarious. He's so naive and so unaware.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Brilliant stuff. So really, I think that leads into, so my number 3 is Toy Story 4. And I hope you'll forgive me for adding it, but there is a method to my madness. While we're talking on Toy Story, I don't mean to butt in and Mitch to take over, because I don't think we've took you in your number 3 yet, right? We haven't.
Go ahead.
So, but again, when I saw that Toy Story 4 was coming out, and maybe we had talked about this too, but I thought, we need another Toy Story movie. Like, I need a hole in the head. Like, why make another film? What a money grab. I was so mad about it. And then I saw it, and I was just completely dazzled with it. And I thought it really worked. For me, again, maybe it's imperfect. And again, the story doesn't need to be told. And I know there's been some, I talked to some friends who were criticizing that, it was terrible because the band got broken up, right? The Buzz and Woody are now separated. And, clearly now with Toy Story 5, which we're going to, I think, hopefully talk about a little later on, they're getting the band back together. We don't know how that's going to happen, but somehow they're getting back together. But I don't know. I thought it was again just a great story, beautifully told, and I loved how Woody uh, and Bo Peep. It was they were doing their thing for love. I don't know. It just maybe it was just me feeling sentimental about it too. It works. It worked for me. What do you both think of Toy Story 4?
It was actually my number three as well.
Oh, okay. Well, so guiding into it. So sorry, Mitch. I didn't mean to butt. Lloyd.
Actually, it works perfectly because we're kind of going in order with these films. Um, I tell you why I think it's my number three, and I do think, and this is not a common opinion, I think that Toy Story 4 is the strongest of all four films, but only if you include a few factors, which I did. Um, when Toy Story 1 came out, it changed the world, right? Everybody was
Yeah, yeah,
completely taken away by this new kind of medium, this new way of storytelling. It it just it was just this most amazing thing that had happened to the industry, um, as we all know, and we all talked about how good it looked and how you got these little details that were modeled in the characters and the environments and stuff. Um, I think the advancement of the technology, the visual capabilities of the films, gradually got better over the whatever 30 years, to where now a lot of people don't realize how far it's come. If you go back to Toy Story 1 and you compare it side by side to Toy Story 4, there are many things that could not have been done in Toy Story 1. They could not have advanced the story in certain ways because of the limitations of the technology. And I'll use this example. If you remember at the beginning opening scene of Toy Story 4, you've got Andy's house. It's raining outside. It's nighttime. You've got RC, which I think is a wonderful little character. The
yeah.
RC race.
I see. Yeah,
Yeah, I love this little guy. He's stuck out in the gutter and it's raining and the water's rushing and he needs to be saved by Woody and the monkeys, the barrel of monkeys are making like a chain from the window and they've got I mean there's a lot going on and they're able to capture like this amazing, it's not very long, but it's an amazing emotional moment. They set an emotional tone right away, about what these toys are willing to do for each other, and it kind of plays into what happens later on. But if you look at the cinematography of it,
yeah,
and not every viewer is going to recognize the role that cinematography plays in the story itself. It's its own kind of storytelling technique. It's the way that things are framed and the focus and the lighting. And if you look at the later films, in this case Toy Story 4, the rendering, the way it's lit, the staging, the sets, the atmospheric air quality. Maybe there's some like dust in the air or fog. The way that the textures reflect light or absorb light. Um, there's a lot of that did not exist in the early few films. We started to see a big noticeable change in like Wally, for example.
yeah,
And by the time you get to Toy Story 4, they're able to tell the story and evoke certain emotions because they have the technical capabilities and because they're able to like take advantage of those in a way that um, brings out some emotion. And the rain scene with the wet characters and the wet fabric and the shiny plastic and the everything the leaves in the gutter and everything, and then you've got the part where Bo Peep is taken out in a cardboard box. It's like she's being sold to somebody maybe, and you've got Woody trying to stop that from happening, and they're under the car, and there's that kind of romantic moment between the two, kind of a subtle romantic moment, but you feel the emotion, and what they're able to achieve visually, for me, um, makes a big difference. And so when they introduce new environments like the that great um, antique shop
yes,
with the old like stuff and the dust and everything, they're running behind old furniture and through the cracks and everything, and cool lamps hanging everywhere. And then we're introduced to like the ventriloquist dummy villains and the doll that's like mean. Um, and then the environment of the carnival, and then the RV that the family's traveling in, and they're like, there, there's a lot of things that are introduced in number four that really I think are really really great, that aren't always talked about. And if I were to say the best story of the four, I would say probably Toy Story 2 at least is my favorite story.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you were to consider all of these factors, I think four has most of those boxes checked off for me as a viewer, and it's one that I could watch repeatedly.
I'm excited to rewatch it again myself. After our conversation, after your description, Mitch, same thing. Like, I want to watch this movie again because I agree with you. It's wow, man, just the advances, right, in the tools, and the CGI, the computer animation is just remarkable.
They did a few interesting things. They brought in that Keanu Reeves character, Duke Kaboom,
Duke Kaboom.
from Canada. He's like kind of a pathetic.
Evil Knievel kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was fun. I thought Forky got a lot of critical kind of response, but Forky is a spork that was made into a toy by the little girl. They have one of my favorite little kind of throwaway gags is when this skunk. It's basically a remote control car with like a skunk, like fake skunk fur over the top of it, and Bo Peep can like run it through the crowd and scare everybody, and then like a little Polly Pocket, pops out of thing. It's like there's these little tiny kind of moments that we did not see previously in the Toy Story franchise,
Yeah.
that I thought were really brilliant. And I'm hoping five has some of that. And we do know that there are additional new characters that are kind of funny, like the little potty training toilet paper roll.
Yeah. The Conan O'Brien is the voice, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
okay.
And you got the like the Key and Peele, the bunny, and what are the names? Like
Yeah, which were really funny to me. I thought they really worked.
Bunny and Ducky.
Buddy and Ducky, yeah.
They're like ultra cheap um, Chinese stuffed animals, like made out of like cheap materials, and there's something that you would win at a carnival, and they're hanging there on the board, and to be won, and they end up being a big part of the story and like a hilarious addition to the franchise. So I hope we see more of Key and Peele and maybe reprising their roles. I doubt it, but maybe they'll come back in number five.
Okay, I don't disagree with what you guys are saying, but I would like to share a couple of my hangups.
No, please. No, absolutely, Lily. I want to hear them all.
Okay, one that we've already talked about is I really don't think we needed the movie.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think it did kind of disrupt a perfect ending. There was this really beautiful ending, and that ending got disrupted. And one of those disruptions that I really struggle with is that you have this really nice moment at the end of Toy Story 3 where Andy sees Woody in the box and is like, "Wait, not Woody." And then he sees that Bonnie wants Woody and he gives Woody away.
Yeah.
To see Woody shoved at the bottom of the closet as soon as we opened Toy Story 4, I thought was a mistake. Like, you don't and I get it. It's like in real life, that's probably what would have happened, and she would have liked Jesse more or whatever. I get that. But like, don't end Toy Story 3 with Andy giving away Woody and then no one cares about Woody in the next 10 seconds. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't like that choice.
Yeah.
That was hard for me. And then, I think, you sort of have this moment at the end of Toy Story 4 where Woody and is he going to go with Bo Peep? And now Bo Peep is this like junky toy that's like broken under a playground. Like it just sort of it sort of took these characters and it put them in some circumstances where I was like, I don't know. I don't know that I needed to see Bo Peep broken under a merry-go-round. Like, I don't think I needed to see that. So, do I think it was a fine story? Yeah, I think it was fine. I think Gabby's the weakest of the villains. But I mean, I think she was a fine villain. The little dummy
Yeah.
The
ventriloquist
talking,
dolls.
yeah.
They were interesting, funny.
The
Ant-Man, whatever.
ventriloquist ones, yeah. Sorry.
She's no Lotso, I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
Lotso's hard to beat.
comparatively, I'm just like, "Oh, wow, okay, that's fine." And I didn't love Forky. It was fine, but, like, the fact that he's looking for garbage the whole time, and I
Yeah.
get it, it's, like, fine, it's a gag, but, like, I don't know, like, of all the characters that we know and love, like, is Forky at the top of my list? Like, probably not,
Probably not.
Like, so,
Yeah.
anyways, okay, so those are some of my hangups. Other than
You
that,
know,
great.
should we tackle Toy Story 5 a bit while we're here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
While we're
let's
talking about it? Yeah. So one of the things we wanted to talk about too in this is just there are 5 films that we know that Pixar is working on their upcoming slate. Toy Story 5 is one of them, which is scheduled to come out next summer of 2026. And I feel like I have a lot of the same hangups that I did about, well, I guess a combination of Toy Story 4, but then I like Toy Story 4 so much that I think, okay, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. The only thing that I really know about this film, well, I guess we know, like, clearly some of these other characters, like we touched on, the potty training character in particular, but also from what I've read, and let me know too what you both know, is that the villain in the film is going to be a tablet.
Yeah. Like,
Which I kind of love, the fact
Yeah,
that
pretty interesting, yeah.
these toys now have got competition with this tablet, who probably is taking up whatever kid they're with, like all their,
Yeah.
every waking minute, rather than playing with the toys. I thought it was clever. What do you think? What have you heard? And what do you think?
heard very little other than what you said, and it'll be fun to see how it plays out, because the way they're pitching it right now in the early, like, kind of information is that, hey, there's a lot of competition with the screens. Like, it's hard to beat an interactive screen that's so entertaining, and a plastic toy just isn't cutting it anymore with these kids. Like, kids these days, and you can imagine how much it's going to contribute to that drama, right? Where they're, yet again, the toys are feeling left out. They're being replaced by something better, like they were with Buzz Lightyear,
Right,
like
exactly.
they were with other things along the way. And so, yeah, I think it's a decent premise.
What do you think, Lily?
I mean, I'll say one thing I appreciate about Pixar is that, particularly with Toy Story, because those are their such key characters in, the Pixar canon, I know they'll do a good job. Like, I appreciated with Toy Story 4. I mean, that movie was supposed to be released years before it was released, and they wouldn't release it until they knew it was right. They were more willing to put out a crappy dinosaur movie than let Toy Story characters, end up in a bad spot. So I appreciate that, and I think they'll do a good job with it. And there'll be some good jokes, and I like the idea of the tablet, but I mean, I think I'm just kind of still hung up on, like, we don't need more of these films. They were good where they were. So many of the films coming out, are it's not, I wish that we were getting more IP than spending time, trying to, like, regurgitate Toy Story, and it does also just feel like a money grab. Like, we know it's gonna make money, so we'll just keep on capitalizing on these characters instead of just, like, letting it go. That being said, one asterisk I would say is I'd like to see Bo Peep and Woody in a I know I didn't love the end of Toy Story 4, so I wouldn't mind seeing them in a better place. So hopefully that gets wrapped up in Toy Story 5.
Well, and how are they going to get the band back together? Right, is what I'm
Yeah.
wondering too. I mean, it sounds like it's going to happen, but we'll see what we think. So I guess maybe some cautious optimism. Maybe is that the way we could?
Well, yeah, and then
Yeah,
Lily
that's
brought
good.
up something that you brought up, Lily, is that they would give more time to the Toy Story franchise, and then than they do to other films. And when the three of us we visited Pixar studios a couple times. And one of the times we were there, we were told that Toy Story, it might have been three, it might have been four, was given an extra year. And then I think it was Cars 3. I could be wrong on the film. I think it was Cars 3 that was given less time to
Last
develop.
time. Yeah, I think that's what I remember. That's what I remember, Mitch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh,
It was
that's right.
very
Yeah,
it was
that is
very
right.
clear, like in the hallways of Pixar, like, oh, a Toy Story movie is going to get anything it wants and needs because we're not going to mess up Toy Story. These other ones aren't as sacred as the beloved Toy Story franchise, and there's obviously good reason for that. But yeah, and I think you're right. I think five, they're going to do their best to not screw things up.
Yeah.
Yeah, let us hope. While we're on, just one final thing about Toy Story, and I don't mean to butt in line again, Mitch and Lily, but my number two film is Toy Story 3.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
because it's a perfect movie. Just all the things that we've said about it. So sorry to butt. But let's go with our number twos. Uh, Mitch, why don't we start with you? What's your number two?
So my number two is Luca. This
Oh, nice.
this is a film that I find myself enjoying more each time I watch it. There are a
Yeah.
lot of Pixar films that I don't watch more than once or twice. This is one I've watched many times. I love the story, the premise. Now the stakes aren't super high like in some of the other movies. It's basically some kids that want to win a race and buy a Vespa, but there ends up being a lot more to the story. I really love the two worlds that are kind of one world in this movie. You've got the under the sea monster life. They're not monster-ish. They're just sea creatures that live kind of like humans under the ocean. And then Luca, as we all know, discovers that if he goes outside of the water, he quickly turns into a human, and he's now able to explore with his new friend um, the world of the humans in out in the on the land. Um, and I really love that he can kind of go back and forth between the two worlds so much that like if water is splashed on him, he like starts to turn back into the sea monster with the scales and everything. It's beautifully designed, beautifully animated. I think it's a very fun movie. I just get a kick out of it when I watch it from start to finish. There are plenty of little moments that I think are funny. Overall, it's just super enjoyable for me to watch. I think the ending is great. I think that you see that there is more to these characters than simple, like, I want something different. I want to get away from my family. I want to go see something new. Um, it ends up being that they really are looking for more in life. Education, for example, with Luca wanting to go to school. The town is really charming. It's like an old Italian village that
Yeah, this
basically,
seaside Italian village, yeah, which is incredibly charming.
and everybody's
Fictional,
like,
yeah, it really looks like it could exist.
yeah, it's a small port town where everybody's a fisherman basically, and they kind of pride themselves on, like if we ever had the chance, we would kill the sea monsters, and like everywhere Luca looks around the town, there's like references to slaying those sea monsters, and he himself is one, and so that constant attempt for uh, Luca and Alberto to not get wet, to not expose themselves, to not be found out, and to try to live like a human, and then have to like race in this cool little like bicycle, swimming, running thing. The father contributes to that. The father of the girl that they meet that quirky girl, and her father is like serious, kind of mean, kind of very cool character, big guy, big mustache, and they make it clear that he's going to, you know, chop in half anything that swims in the ocean. Like he's a guy that's chopping fish all the time. And anyway, there are a lot of things that kind of come together really nicely. I thought they all meshed very well, and even though it's not like the biggest epic adventure, I'm okay with that. I like the kind of simplistic um, approach that they took, and I think it's very rich, even though it's simple.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a cool choice, Mitch. What do you think? What do you think of Luca Lily?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's a nice film. I think there's a few of those films for me that were kind of in the middle, like, that I would gravitate around, like Elemental, and I think that there's just like some nice storytelling. I think that there's some relatable storytelling, where um, there's a misunderstanding and someone is identifies as that misunderstanding. I think that's something that we can all relate to when, you know, um, we have something about us that is being misunderstood and we wish others understood, and a desire to cross between, in this case worlds, but also perspectives and things like that. So I just kind of like that, undertone as well of the relatability of it. And I also just remember there being really nice animation in this film
Mhm.
as well, the water, then the world in the water, and um scales, and like I just remember really thinking it was a beautiful film as well, and just some really nice moments as well, some really nice scenes. So yeah, I think it's a great film.
I think Luca is so charming, and just to kind of reiterate or echo what you both have already said about it, uh, I it's a film I really like too. Just so charming. I think that one of its strong points is its gentle storytelling.
Mhm.
And the stakes don't necessarily feel as high, but you really, I think, come to love Luca and uh, his friend, and or his friends, on the land, and then it's just, I think it's so funny that his parents come up and turn into humans too to try to figure out what's going on, and
Jim
uh,
Gaffigan is the dad's voice.
yes, it's so great. The you know I lived in Italy for a couple of years, you know, in my college years when I was over there as a missionary, and I by no means an expert on Italian culture or anything, but I just felt that they really captured the essence of an Italian town and Italian people and gelato, and I mean just all the stuff. It's so fun. Vespas, it's so charming. One of the things that I want to bring up too about the art, I think this was in and forgive me if we've already talked about this, but it was, I think it was at the beginning of 2024. I'm sorry, I can't even remember what I had for lunch, let alone a movie that I saw 2 years ago. But the Luca, Soul, and Turning Red were the three Pixar films that were released during the COVID pandemic,
Yeah.
and they went straight to Disney Plus. They did not get
Mhm.
theatrical releases. And so what Pixar did, and I really do think it was the first quarter of 2024. They brought each of those three films. They did them as a theatrical release, and I feel like I'm the only person that saw them,
Mhm.
because every single one was a private screening that I went to, which was a bummer because seeing Luca, actually seeing all three of them. I know we'll be getting to another one here in a bit, but seeing Luca on the big screen, it was almost like seeing it for the first time because I loved seeing it. I loved it on TV. It was fantastic. But then these films, the way Pixar animates them, I think they're meant to be seen on the big screen. It just made me love it even more. Just respect the artistry and just the knockout animation that they do at Pixar. It was great, so great,
I agree.
wonderful, wonderful choice. Um, well, then Lily, I think that leads us to your no, actually we're gonna go, are we gonna do your number one, and then we'll talk about our two and number one? How should we do this since we already know?
No, this is good. Why don't we do my 2, and then you guys can say, "Oh, yeah," and then that's my 1, and we can just segue into
Okay,
that. Is that okay?
of course.
Um, okay, yeah, so my number 2 is Coco. Um, I just adore this movie. I adore it. I it did not look good to me. I did not like the previews. I thought they were so odd. Um, and so, it was one of those movies that I went in with incredibly low expectations, and they were just blown out of the water. I thought the movie was beautiful. I thought the message was incredible. I love this I love the way that this story takes us on this really interesting journey where, he's looking for his family and he thinks this famous singer is his family, and then turns out this other guy is his family, but then turns out it all ends up being different. And I love the moment in like the not the well, but just down in the underground where they're like, "I'm proud that you're my family," and he's like, they're like yelling, and I love that. I love the story. I love the way it revolves around music and how meaningful music is, and
Yes.
I just I think it's beautiful. I love the songs. I think the songs are amazing. I still sing them. My nieces sing them. Um, I think it's the animation is beautiful. The city of the dead is, and the way that the different architectures from the different time periods are like molded together in this like really incredible city. There's nothing about this film that I don't love. I love the whole thing.
Ditto. Well said.
Yeah, yeah, ditto. Because it's both Mitch and I picked Coco as our number ones,
Yeah.
right? Uh, Mitch, tell us so your thoughts about Coco.
I really like the Mexico backdrop, and then
Mhm.
the kind of Mexican culture backdrop of the land of the dead, right? The afterlife. They did a really good job with that, I thought. Now, I lived 2 years in South America, much like Stan, as a missionary, and I was in Argentina, which is similar to Mexico in some ways, not every way. Um, but I have a real appreciation for the kind of the Latino lifestyle, and I loved so much the village that Miguel lives in. His family's business is making shoes, and they work together. Um, I'm a big fan of the sidekick character Dante, the dog, and I love that he's a stray. He is a street dog that does not belong to anybody, but he loves Dante. I mean, he loves Miguel.
Mhm.
Um, so for me, um, it came together so nicely in a way that I didn't anticipate. The afterlife stuff, the land of the dead, um, is very imaginative. It's very expansive. When we were at um, Pixar Studios, the three of us, one of our visits, they were in the middle of production, towards the end of production of Coco, and I remember we got to go to the current production kind of like wing of the building where the current uh, movie is being finished, and it's all decorated with Coco stuff. And there was this huge kind of like story, like I don't know, it was like I don't know what they call it, but it's like kind of storyboards and colorful storyboards that show the whole film, and they put a black cloth over the
I
very last.
remember. I was thinking
Yes,
of I was like, "I remember that." We were
we
so
couldn't see. That's so
Yeah,
great.
we
Yeah,
like look at this like beautiful artwork that was this giant wall, and it had these like strips of story elements, and we could kind of follow it along. And then when you got to the towards the end, it was all covered up, so
they're
we didn't
like,
have.
psych,
Yeah.
no
And then
spoilers here.
what is
we got to
under
walk
there?
through, and we got to see this big like uh, timeline, like they were trying to like color in the the progress of the film, and it was like almost all colored in. They were very close to it, and then we were surprised and delighted that director Lee Unkrich walked past us with his little group of people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a total nerd moment.
Yeah,
It
total
was so
nerd moment.
weird.
Um, and um, yeah, there were other moments similar to that, but that was a big moment for I think all of us. Uh, but that whole like the whole idea behind it is really cool because you've got this character Miguel who's a typical kid. He doesn't appreciate his family. In fact, he's quite annoyed by his family. He doesn't really appreciate his heritage until he discovers that his heritage is actually closely tied to what he's interested in, the music. And then
Mhm.
you've
That's a good
got
point.
he's going to this land of the dead where he meets all these people he never knew, and he's on this adventure, and he's time is running out and he's got to do these different things. He's got to be brave. He's got to. It all went together in a way that was brilliant, and I like the kind of sort of twist ending where and this is maybe a little spoiler, but um, Ernesto de la Cruz, who is a great character, ends up being a bad guy, and
He's a scumbag.
the scumbag that little Miguel thought was his great grandfather, and he finds out that this other character really is, and that's the guy Hector who really did write the music and all that stuff. So it ends up working out really well in the end for Miguel. And it's not what the audience anticipated. Like if you watched all the trailers early on and stuff, like we all thought we were clever by thinking, oh, the famous singer is his grandfather or great grandfather. Like we were wrong. I mean, they probably want us to think that at the beginning. Anyway, I think it's endearing. The voice acting is flawless. I think Miguel, the character, is really super. Um, he's got all the qualities that you'd want in like a character like that. Very endearing.
I love the scene when Hector is like, "Oh, are you embarrassed that I'm your family?" And he's like, "No, I just thought my family was a murderer, so this."
Right. I know, it's so endearing. I love what you both have said about this film, and what happy memories, of when we got to see some of this stuff, at the Picture Animation Studios uh, tour that we were on. I loved so much again, going back to the emotional portion of this film too, because I mean, sure, I guess I'm a somewhat of an emotional guy, but I often don't cry in movies. But I can't tell you how many times I've seen Coco and I cry every time. That when Miguel is singing "Remember Me," near the end of the
Yeah.
film, and
It's so good.
that is just the most tender thing, really put on film, and I love that movie so much.
Now, both of you are probably aware of this story, and they have it on video online about the voice of Miguel. Do you guys know this?
Oh,
Yeah,
tell us.
yeah.
So, a young boy, Anthony Gonzalez, was hired to be the scratch voice of Miguel while they were still trying to cast the actual um, actor. They brought him in to do all the like
Yeah,
pre-recording stuff, so the animators had something to refer to, and just stuff that was never going to be heard outside of the studio. It's just what for internal purposes only, and they were working with him. Meanwhile, he was fully aware that they were like trying to find the actual voice, and like auditioning a bunch of boys, and and at one point around Christmas, Lee Unkrich, the director, gives him a big box, like a big present, and he opens it up, and it's this like hand drawn art of Coco, and it says "You've got the job," and he just falls to the ground, just so happy.
I
Uh,
didn't know that.
I didn't know this story, Mitch. That's so great.
I've always thought of that when I watched the movie because like I don't know, that's just another little touching tidbit, one of many. But since I do love the character of Coco so much, not Coco, Coco's the grandma, the great grandma of
Hi,
Miguel.
Miguel.
I think he carries that movie so well and brings everything together so well by the end. It's just cool to see that like this boy who was not supposed to be the voice of this character ended up being the voice, and he's like perfect. You can't imagine a better
I
voice actor.
know he's perfect.
He's perfect. He's perfect. Yeah. And I love you can hear the passion in his voice, but like the sincerity and the bravery and like the way that he feels driven, but he also has his own fears. I love the scene when he's in like the big house party, and he sings the song, Señores y señoritas, like that little
Uh,
song, like um uh Yeah, I think it's great. Another thing too that I was so touched by in the story is just the story of the ancestors and
Mm,
this idea that like Hector is about to be forgotten. And part of that forgetting is that there's been a very serious misunderstanding in the family. And so
mm,
Miguel's bravery to come out and say, "Hey, I don't think this is the story. I don't think this is what happened." And I actually love Imelda's Mama Imelda Rivera's character, where she's sort of stuck in her way, but then she is able to come around as well. And I love
Yeah.
her like the Llorena song that she sings in the end, and she kind of comes out. And so there's sort of this transformation that happens on the other side, in the world of the dead, but then Miguel is able to bring that transformation back to his living family and, bring music back and bring the truth of their ancestry back and that, that these ancestors would be remembered. I think it's just really touching.
I
yeah.
really, yeah. After you, Mitch. Sorry.
No, I'm just agreeing that it's got that like ancestral, familial, relatives, like all that connection that a young boy, doesn't care about. He wants to play his guitar and run around, with his dog. Yet, like I think it reflects like my own personal situation where family and our ancestry is really important to my family. But as a kid, I couldn't have cared less. Right now, as an adult, you know, I really have grown to love the whole idea of those who come before us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I love what you both have said about this film. Lily, I appreciate your comments about, when you were seeing the trailers or seeing some of the initial art from it, just thinking, oh, well, this looks so unappealing. I remember thinking, how in the world can they make? I mean, I wasn't necessarily thinking it was a kids movie, but like a family friendly movie that's all about like the aesthetic of the Day of the Dead, which I think is kind of, morbid and scary in some regards, for at least from this Western dude's sensibility. But they aced it.
Yeah.
How do they make all those I mean skeletons not just be terrifying? They're great.
They're like falling
Yes.
apart, like the bones will like scatter, and then they kind of have to reassemble, and
Yeah,
they're
and
like kind of.
they're wearing clothes, and so,
And then Hector's like, "That's not how skeletons walk," and he's like, "That's how you walk." Because they have this kind of clunky way of getting around. It's brilliant.
Yeah. Well, and I think it also makes death less scary for kids, you know? It's like,
yeah,
"Oh, yeah, it's
yeah,
they're just gonna be these skeletons, and we love these
and
skeletons,"
it's
and
colorful, and
yeah.
yeah, and really beautiful and interesting, and yeah, it's so imaginative, and I'm with you too, Mitch. Isn't Dante a great character, both in his human and then his how do you pronounce that word,
Ali
Mitch?
Bree or something.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, just how colorful and wonderful those are too. Wow, it's such a
Speaking
knockout.
of that, eh, I didn't really know the history of the Alebrijes. I hope I'm saying that right. Alebrije, yeah, the Alebrijes. But when I worked at Walt Disney World and Lily worked there at the same time, I worked at Epcot for a while. And every time I went to the Mexico Pavilion at Epcot, as you go in, there are these tables with all these wooden carvings of animals, and then they paint them in bright colors, and they have all these dots on there. They're really like so cool to look at, and I never went in without stopping and holding a bunch of those and just looking at them like these are so cool. Turns out they actually have a deeper meaning in this culture, and they really incorporated that. So we've never seen, from to my knowledge, any animated film that incorporated that specific thing of the Alebrijes, and it was really cool. And like another spoiler, you've got Dante. Um, he's either just another dog or maybe he's more than that. We don't know. Turns out he's not just another dog. He's actually a spirit
Mhm.
animal, and he kind of saves the day in a way, in a small way, and
Yeah,
he being an Ali Brije, and man, that tongue that just falls out of his mouth and his eyes.
It's so great.
And he's just like this super underrated little side character.
One of the things that really dazzles me about this film too, I mean, there's so many, but when they're in, the realm of the dead, one of those initial shots when Miguel is looking at it and he sees all the
Mhm.
buildings that you talked about, how they're kind of stacked on each other. I'm so blown away by that arc because I'm thinking, how long did that take to render? Like they needed their own server farm to like make that whole make that whole sequence work.
Wouldn't be possible a few years earlier, I don't think.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember when we were there? There was a giant printout or like painting or illustration of that
Yes, I do.
concept, and they
Yes,
explained it.
I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
I
And I
thought it
just
was
started thinking,
cool.
wow, it's gorgeous.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the way they explained it was it's kind of been built over time. You look at it, it's this like huge lit up city that's multi-layered, like stacked on top of each other, and that the older stuff is on the bottom, of
On the
course.
bottom, yeah, the
Yeah.
older like kind of building design, right, or architecture. Yes.
You got more
Yeah.
like ancient stone architecture at the bottom, and as it goes upward, it advances in the style of architecture. By the time you get to the top, it's much more modern. Little things like that were really cool, and then the way that you just kind of maneuver through the city, and they kind of went into the kind of more of the slums of that world where the skeletons had been forgotten, and um, they were the ones vanishing kind of next, and it's kind of more of a, I don't know, like not homeless, but a little more of a shanty town.
Yes.
I thought it was cool. They had like a variety of environments. It wasn't all just the same. It's just so brilliant the way they did it.
I love like Inerso de la Cruz's house.
Yeah,
This big fancy villa kind of thing, and also that gnarly transportation, trolley or whatever that is that takes them up to it, and yeah, it's just all. I mean, it's so interesting. They clearly did their homework, and it's stuff that maybe you're not realizing, but when you really analyze and think about it, like yeah, they were very thoughtful in every regard, as they typically are
yeah,
there at Pixar. What a great film, which then leads us to Lily's number one, which I'm really excited to talk about too. Lily, take it away.
I have said this before, but Soul is honestly, Soul has become like arguably my favorite Pixar film of all time. Like I love this movie so much. And like the more I think about it, the more I love it. And I find myself referencing it so frequently. Like the message is so deep and it's so incredible. And it's and it feels really subtle. It feels such a subtle way to tell such a profound message and
mm,
like have it go in so deep. So, I just love this, this concept that I feel like, we often are living our lives in this idea that like there's some sort of other life that we're supposed to be living and there's some dream that we're supposed to be experiencing, and to have these characters both, 22 as well, someone who hasn't lived life, having this experience, and then Joe who's, living and, but not living, and so for them to have this exchange of what it means to be alive, it's an incredible story, and I love the different ways that Pixar kind of takes us through, as 22's trying to figure out like why should she even be alive? And then, Joe wanting to be alive, but maybe for a reason that isn't his ultimate reason at the end of the film. I just think the combination of it is really incredible. I think my favorite moment is when Joe has that striking moment where he realizes that he got the gig and he got to play it, and, he was in the zone and all of the things that you expect, and you sort of see yourself going there in the film, like, yeah, you just want him to get this gig and you want him to be able to play, and then he finally gets the gig, And when he comes out of it and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not really sure that I feel the way I thought I was gonna feel." And then there's that moment where he just looks at that little, like, maple leaf, like, that little helicopter
Yeah.
leaf, and, like, it's like this and, like, a piece of pizza, and, like, this is what life is about. Like, it's about living, I love it. I'm just obsessed with it.
With cause, what's your take on Soul, Mitch?
I think Joe Gardner character, the Jamie Foxx voice, and the character himself is one of my favorite all-time favorite characters in animation. Just like his passion and everything, and I really am mildly obsessed with the sequence where he dies. Like the way they kill
Mhm.
him is like
Yeah.
I just love the like it's jarring in like in a way, or like, whoa, that's not supposed to happen this early on in the film and everything. Um, the like trying to help the children learn music, and just the whole like love for music, the way that they put it together is brilliant. I like the barbershop. I like I just really like the world, the like natural world that he starts out in, and then going into the like afterlife. Again, another film about um, like the dead. Brilliant, very different than the other films, but like done so beautifully. Um, it's I would say it's one of the more different of the Pixar films, but I'm so glad they did it. I'm like, it's almost surprising that it would have gotten greenlit. It probably wouldn't have gotten greenlit
Yeah.
anywhere else but Pixar. Pixar, I think, pushes to do these types of stories, um, and they nailed it.
Yeah, and also, I mean, John Baptiste, like, what an incredible
Yeah.
artist to be involved in this, and just
Yeah,
an incredible, like, the way he thinks about music in and of itself is amazing, and then that he kind of adds to this film. Um, yeah, I think it's amazing. I love that, Daveed Diggs from Hamilton is in it as well, like,
I do too.
so
Yes.
it's just, it's a fun cast, it's a fun, like, I get a little jealous when I think about these people coming together to make this film, just like, wow, you know, how cool to make this and just have all these talented people telling this very interesting story. Um, yeah, it's really great.
I loved Soul the first time I saw it on Disney Plus. I was really dazzled by it. But then, again, sorry to be a broken record here, but when I saw it on the big screen, it was
Yeah,
as if I was seeing it for the first time. The animation is so uh, gorgeous, and the story, and just again, just and then just also hearing that music on the big theater speakers, and just that surround sound. Uh, it was something I'll never forget. Just, even though I'd already seen the film, a few times before, it's a beautiful piece of work. I also think too, again, Pete Docter, right? Just here we are throwing more accolades to Pete Docter, but
yeah,
it's so brilliant and so out there, but it works. It really works, and I'm with you, Lily. My favorite. That's my favorite scene too. Is that one where he's looking at that little helicopter thing from the
yes,
tree, and then just seeing all those, or reminiscing about all those pieces, and then that on the big screen was overwhelming too. I think I probably even cried there. On the
yeah.
big screen. That's because it's so poignant.
Yeah, well, it kind of punches you in the face, 'cause, like,
Yes.
the whole movie, you're like, "Yeah, he just needs to be in the band and be alive," and then you're just like, "Wait, that's not what life is about anyway, it's just about being alive," and I love the end of the movie when he just says, "Whatever I end up doing, I'm just gonna, like, live life to the fullest," and you're just like, "Oh, yes, that's it." So good. And I still have my little 22 stand that you gave me. It just sits here on my desk.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, my yeah. My little nieces are like, "Can I play with it?" I'm like, "No, that's my little Tina Fey. Leave it alone."
No touchy.
Yeah.
I have Soul just ranking. I have it at number 6 because it was so hard though because I really wanted it to be in my top 5. I had trouble. I was thinking, should I combine just the Toy Story movies and Inside Out movies? So I should put Soul up in my top 5. I think it's definitely one of the most interesting and dare I say more like most mature
Yes.
works from Pixar. And I think people who don't like it, frankly, I just not sure that they're just not thinking about it deeply. You
Well,
know?
my sister said, she's like, "I get what you're saying about Soul. I know you love it, but just like my kids don't. That's not one that my kids wanna watch," you know? And
Yeah.
I think it's good feedback. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I probably there's not a lot of six-year-olds out there wondering what the meaning of life is, but I love that Pixar I feel like it was a risk.
Yeah,
Just
I
like
do too.
Mitch, you were kinda pointing to this earlier, like, I think it was a risk, and I love that they greenlit it, and I think it's an incredible movie.
It's a great movie, and I wish we could all see it on the big screen again.
Yeah.
Maybe that opportunity will present itself sometime. Who knows? But it's really great. Are you guys okay for going on for a few more minutes? Should we go talk about our bottom film?
Yes. Yes.
Does
Yeah, let's
that
do it.
work?
Yeah,
And
totally.
then maybe just maybe we just talk about Hoppers or something, or we'll just see how we're doing. We'll plan to end at 5. Does that work? Or even if we're done before then, does that still
Yeah.
sound okay?
You're talking about bottom one for each of
Our
us?
bottom one, yeah. Should we just do our bottom one,
Yeah.
or do you want to do like the bottom 2? What do you think? Maybe just bottom 1 for time.
Bottom one, yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, here we've talked about now our top 5s respectively. I thought it would be interesting to hear what we all picked as our bottom of this list of 19 films. What was your least favorite of the Pixar feature films from the last 15 years? Lily, let's again, if you don't mind, let's start with you. What did you pick as your number 19?
So, it wasn't even I didn't even have to think about it. I knew exactly what was at the bottom of this list for me, and that was Lightyear. I Lightyear is the only this might feel like a bold statement, but I'm gonna make it. Lightyear is the only movie that I think of when I think about Pixar films. There's some that have their quirks or their issues, but Lightyear is the only movie that I think of that I think that was just a bad movie. Like that was it was a they made a bad movie and it was not good. The story wasn't good. And I think I have a lot of hangups, but I think probably one of the biggest hangups is, you have this character that we know as the spaceman that Andy is obsessed with. He's
Hmm.
obsessed with this character. He comes home and he takes all of his cowboy gear and he overturns it and it's Buzz Lightyear everything because this little boy is just enthralled with this movie that he's just seen. And so this is now that movie and I couldn't have been less like surprised or enchant. It was so uninteresting. The characters, the cat, all of it, I just really struggled with it. And, the whole thing about Buzz Lightyear is that it's to infinity and beyond. And so you're thinking, this is his adventures out in space. And the whole movie is just him getting stuck in this planet and like, that's it. Like, that's the story. It's like him just being here on the ground. Like, I mean, I just was like, how did you, Pixar, know this character, know that know that Andy is coming home with this toy, flying him through space, and he's so excited to be a space ranger. And then, like, we don't get any of that in the film. Like, none of it. And also, Buzz isn't even like that cool of a character. Like, he's just kind of not that I don't know, I just the whole thing, I'm just was I yeah, I had a hard time even getting through it, and I couldn't have been more disappointed.
Yeah, I have it pretty low too. I was fluctuating around, but I think for me it's ended up at number 18. Yeah. It's not, it's
Yeah.
uh it's a really problematic film. I know that for some people I talked to, they were just really confused about the concept. Just like,
Yeah. It is confusing.
what? Like,
It is
yeah.
the older Buzz and, like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing? Like, what
And how come Tim Allen isn't the voice, and all this stuff? uh, Interesting. Yeah. Well stated. Well stated, Lily. Mitch, what have you got as your number 19?
There are a few contenders, Lightyear being one of them. You're telling that's not my bottom, but I want to mention that when your character is the guy that the toy was loosely based on, and now you're gonna have to get to know the boring version of the
right.
like the character, and kids are going, that's not Buzz Lightyear that the one that I know. No, son, no, daughter, this is the real guy that the toy was inspired on, but it's not really him. And they took a lot of liberties in when they made the toy and when the commercials came out. And so like Andy, what he probably vaguely understood who this human was, but he's far more familiar with the commercials and the toy itself and any like related product. But
Yeah.
so now we're going to go and try to explain that there's a whole story behind the toy that's not really in direct relation to the toy. I'm confusing myself just saying it out loud.
Totally. Yes.
I know. It's really kind of mind boggling. The more I think about it too. I think when I first saw it, I was just thinking to myself, okay, it seems weird that this is a Buzz Lightyear movie because in some ways it could have been possibly an interesting like outer space sci-fi adventure, maybe
Yeah.
not really,
Yeah.
but then to try to tie it into the Buzz Lightyear character, really, I guess a miscalculation. I don't know what would be the right word. Just it didn't work.
Yeah, it wasn't the kind of movie that a little kid would have
Yes.
gone to the theater and drove home saying, "Mom, I wanna be Buzz Lightyear. I needed the toy.
Yes.
I want a comforter. I wanna repaint
I
my
want
walls."
all the things.
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah,
he's the coolest, and he's the coolest thing ever. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like,
This was not it.
if you're gonna take your kids to Lightyear or Interstellar, they're both gonna fall flat for a 4-year-old, right?
Right. Yeah.
But at
Well,
least, but at least Interstellar can attract an audience, whereas Lightyear has had a really hard time since it came out to attract any audience at all.
any audience.
The little
Yeah.
kids aren't loving it. The like Space Odyssey, like 2001 Space Odyssey kind of nerds, they find some pieces that are interesting, like maybe inspired by that kind of film. But the older audience isn't gravitating towards it. The more mature audience that likes Soul, even though the kids might not like it as much, the kids are at least going to grow into Soul, right? My 5-year-old daughter is going to grow into loving Soul much as Lily does now.
Yeah.
Is a little bit older.
Yeah.
Lightyear, I think it's hard, and I honestly think there were a lot of political debates happening internally at Disney around a lot of different topics. And we're talking like just like corporate conflict that we've read about. And there was like this whole thing about Tim Allen shouldn't be in it, and he was being canceled and everything else. And the fact that like I get the reason that they ended up kind of telling us that why Tim Allen was not involved in Lightyear, because the toy had a voice that was not the original person's voice, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we get all that. So you can explain all that away, but if if the audience is still scratching their head at the end of it and they're bored,
Yeah.
like you've lost the whole thing. Cute little cat, little robotic cat, whatever. It had its moments, but it's like you can't call it a Toy Story part of the Toy Story franchise. Like that's for sure.
Exactly.
It is
Yeah.
like yet it's like somehow supposed to be.
Yeah. It was I support your decision, Lily.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah,
So
I
sorry
have a
for
hard time with the cat. Yeah.
prolonging that part of
no,
the
I'm so glad. In fact, I didn't mean to cut you off, Mitch. But yeah, I'm so glad you. I'm so glad you
to
brought it
answer
up.
your question, my bottom was Cars 2, and
Mm.
um, I don't know. I think it was kind of rushed. I think it was kind of maybe Disney pushing Pixar into something that needed more time. I thought it was a little more ambitious than it could have been. There's a certain charm and simplicity with Cars One, kind of the uh, Radiator Springs, a small town, Route 66, the big shot, Lightning McQueen, race car guy comes into this small town environment, and it was well done. I thought it was like a well done movie, and some of the things that we had to just kind of ignore, like these cars are they alive? How are they? Like there was a lot of like initial question marks attached to the world, but we all gave it a pass. Like okay, we're just going to ignore like some of the weird little things about uh, living cars and how do they you know reproduce and all that stuff. You kind of just like
When two cars love each other very much.
we had how do they age like we had to collectively be like okay it is what it is, it's a world of talking cars, and everything, even the flowers are like car parts, or the flies are little Volkswagens, and okay, so we all just had to like okay deal with the those things. But in Cars 2, in Cars 2 I feel like it was more magnified. It was like Mater's now goofier than ever, wearing different costumes and going to fancy parties and acting like a redneck, and they caked it on a little bit too thick in my opinion. And then you got the James Bond whole thing layered on top of that, and you've got the traveling around the world. And I'm like, okay, cool. Pixar showing us Tokyo and other places, neat. But I didn't really buy into the whole story and the premise as much as the first one, and then the third one I thought far exceeded the quality of the second one. So it's one that my kids don't even really love. Like they love all the Cars films, but that's their least favorite. And when they do put it on the TV, I have a hard time like watching it and enjoying myself because I'm so critical of all the weird story choices and just like I don't know. Did John Lasseter just like really need to have uh, uh, like a sequel as fast as he can because he was like he just loved his creation of the first Cars so much? I don't know too much of the backstory, but it just I remember it being kind of the first Pixar dud in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. Lily, what's your take on Cars 2?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it definitely was a movie where then when they announced Cars 3, I was like, "Oh, wow, are we gonna keep doing this?" Um, and then, yeah, I did think Cars 3 was a much better movie. I actually really like Cars 3. Cars
I
3
like Cars
is
3 too. Yeah, I like
pretty
it.
high on my list. I thought it was well done. So, yeah, Cars 2 does kind of just fall flat, you know? I think it had its moments, but yeah, I agree. I agree. It got
Yeah,
rushed.
I do too. I've got Cars 3. It's in my bottom three.
Cars 2, right?
I mean, sorry, Cars 2. Right, yeah,
Yeah.
Cars 2 is in my bottom three. Cars 3 is much higher. I like, yeah, I would say that. Thank you, Lily. I want to clarify that.
Yeah.
Cars 2, it's like a one joke movie, fish out of water, right?
Yeah.
That I don't know. It gets tired. It's really tiresome really fast. And then the whole James Bond stuff, I don't know. It's just I just don't think it worked. I mean, I liked again because I'm biased this way, but I think that the art is really cool. I think that I love the character designs. Like Finn McMissile, what a cool car, like right out of a James Bond movie,
Mm.
uh,
Very cool. Yeah.
and really 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 cool, and all the gadgets and stuff. But still, what a dumb plot uh, device, and really, yeah, it's kind of misguided
You
premise, and
know,
just yeah, not a good movie in any way.
years ago, Lily wrote an article on our website about the problems of sequels, like and went into some really good detail and analysis about how sequels fall short like most of the time, and this had all of those like all of those
Yeah.
points
Yeah. Yep.
were here in that movie. I think that the first one, it was a very big risk to make a talking car movie, but who better to do it than Pixar? And they pulled it off, and I think that had the Cars 2 been the first movie, like somehow it would never have gone any further. And instead it became this like multi-billion dollar franchise, and like the toys themselves
Yeah.
have like grossed into the multi
The
billions
billions. Yeah.
because they figured out how it can work, and then they they kind of, I don't know, they didn't do a very good job with the sequel, and luckily they kind of patched things up a little bit with the third one. But I just, at the end of the day, it just seems like it was rushed in a way, and they try to do too many things, and like it reminds me of Jurassic Park. Like, oh, we got to do number two, and then next thing you know, you've got Godzilla in what, San Diego. Like it's like all of a sudden it's like we're gonna
Yeah.
cram in all these crazy ideas because we can, kind of thing, right? That's not a great comparison, but number two, it's like we can do so much, right, with these cars and take them around the world, and it's a like it falls flat, even though they like it's more elaborate. It's like seems to be like the more elaborate they got, the flatter it became.
Yeah. It's a bummer, and I think it is widely regarded, isn't it, as one of the worst or the worst Pixar movies. Not even just within the last 15 years, but like
Yeah,
forever, right? Right, for the entire time. So, all of the output of the studio. Yeah, good call. Mine is The Good Dinosaur. Uh,
yeah,
I think, and we were talking a little about this, before we recorded, but uh, some of it was, I think it's just a bad movie, but then also I think a lot of it was just disappointment because the production got delayed and it got a new director and a bunch of stuff went on. I was thinking, okay, this is going to bode well. Like, whatever story problems, whatever this film was having, they're going to be fixed and it's going to be awesome. And I think it was just to the contrary. It was, who knows what the first cut of this film was, but wow, the one that we got, I just thought it was lousy. I think for me, I thought the animation was interesting. Again, like the really cartoony kind of style dinosaurs set against,
Mhm.
more realistic backdrop. But the story was just so depressing and just a downer, and all these like weird little vignettes, which maybe could have been fun, but I didn't think it worked. What do you both think of The Good Dinosaur? Do you have it low too, or is it just me?
yeah. It's in my bottom three. I'll tell you my reason for it. We found out, like the fans found out that I guess they wanted 6 more months, and Disney said no. Is that right? Am I
I
remembering?
No, I think you're right. I think
Yeah.
you're yeah.
Because they thought they can iron out some of the story problems, and I think that 6 months could have fixed the film. They originally advertised it as, they gave that teaser trailer where what if that meteor that hit the Earth and wiped out the dinosaurs uh, was
Missed.
there was,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like the trailer is so cool because you've got all these dinosaurs like just eating like plants, and then this bright comet thing, if flies by the Earth like barely missing it, and they all look up at it, and then as soon as it's gone they just go back to eating the plants because it didn't affect them.
Mhm.
So now if you've got this idea of like you've got humans and dinosaurs coexisting, and they had this whole thing about like um, the dinosaurs, like, I don't know, do farming and whatever. A little bit of that kind of carried over into the actual film, but the original premise got everybody excited because, oh, if anybody's going to make another great dinosaur film, because we were like all big fans of Jurassic Park, as I mentioned briefly a minute ago. Um, and so now it's going to be an animated film by Pixar. There's no way they can mess this up. Like dinosaurs, cavemen, um, whatever we thought it was going to be was far better in our minds than what it ended up being, and we were just left very confused by so many little details that were introduced in the story, but then never re like reoccurred ever again. They were never explained, and so it was like, oh, I thought we were going somewhere with that, and but now we're not. Like we never talk about it again. Oh wait, what's this? What's happening now? Like there was a lot of like confusion by the audience, and yeah, we're like, whoa, that river looks photorealistic, and the environments are so beautiful, and yeah, the character animation I thought was cool, like kind of rubbery,
Yes.
cartoony, but like did it come together in a way that was satisfying?
Oh, not
It
even.
probably, it probably would have if they had been given a little more time. And I'll blame the Walt Disney Company like management for that. I don't think that's a Pixar issue as much as it is like Walt.
Disney saying this is your release date, and we're not changing it again.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah,
I get both sides of that argument, but man, it shows that there was a need for a little bit more time, and they just didn't have it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like, how I was saying with Coco, I had such low expectations and then was blown away. I feel like The Good Dinosaur is the literal opposite of that. I went in thinking that this was gonna be an incredible movie. And I also kinda to add to what you guys are saying, Disney had put out Dinosaur, like, 5 years earlier, and it wasn't good, and so I think we were kind of hoping that this was gonna be like Pixar's answer to that,
yeah,
and so, we're going in, we're thinking we're gonna get this dinosaur, and I thought the previews made it look good, like, I was excited, and I remember even those first few scenes animation like you were talking about the
yeah. That
photorealistic
trailer.
and I'm like, I remember looking at the water and being like, "Is that film or is that did they animate that?" And just thinking it was so incredible, and so I'm kind of on the hook in the beginning of the film, and then we kinda go on and on and on, and then I'm kinda like, "Oh, I don't what are we doing? Where are we going?" And for me, it was the moment that Styracosaurus shows up that, like, blends in with the birch trees and has animals on its the
Yeah,
second that that character showed up, I was like, "What
What is
are
this?
we doing? What is happening right now?
I know
Are
it's so true.
are we even in this movie anymore? Like, what is going
Like,
another dimension? Like, I don't understand what's happening right now."
yeah, it's so baffling. Yeah, it's just all these memories are coming back, Lily. Like the same thing. Like, what is
my
this?
my memory of that, the first time I saw that with all the animals kind of perched on there, I thought, oh, there's got to be a good reason for this guy, and then there wasn't, and then
There
we never
wasn't no,
seen him.
you
It's
would
like
never.
I'm like, oh, they could go somewhere fun with this, and it didn't happen. And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there a part where like they like bite the head off of a large bug beetle or something, and it's like there's a part where it like really shook the audience, like, whoa, did not see that one coming, and then it didn't really serve much of a purpose. And then like there's that part where it turns into a western all of a sudden. You're like, wait a second, it's like
Yes. Oh,
a
yes, it's
John
so
Wayne
odd.
movie with
It
dinosaurs
was
or something.
so weird. Yeah, like what is this? It just none of it.
It felt like there were multiple stories, and then they just ended up, like, taping them all together and
Yeah,
calling it a
yeah,
movie. I will say, and, one of my siblings makes fun of this with Pixar movies that there's always, like, that touchy-feely cry moment at the end of the movie. I will say I fall for that just about every time, and I felt like I did fall for it again with The Good Dinosaur. I liked the when they're drawing in the sand and their families and
Oh, the parents, like the human parents.
yeah, I thought that was sweet.
yeah.
I
That
liked
was
that was a
yeah,
nice scene, I thought.
nice moment. Absolutely.
Oh wait,
Yeah,
hold on. Sorry, I was going to your sorry, I was going to your blog and I accidentally hit play. Sorry, did you hear that?
Yeah, we did hear
yeah.
that.
It's fine. No
Okay,
worries.
I'm just looking at your podcast. Um, there was also a before the movie came out, they also led us to believe that it was a story of a boy and his dog, but the boy was the dinosaur and the dog was a little human And
Yeah.
there was like kind of that sort of like there was little bits and pieces of that, but it didn't come off the way we expected.
No, it didn't. It's just interesting concepts that just didn't quite work. And yeah, maybe I guess we'll never know. But you wonder if in time, if they had been given a little more time, if they could have fixed it, or was ultimately there was just too much going on. They just had to scrap it. But yeah, that's where I went bottom. Well, in the last couple minutes that we've got, we talked about Toy Story 5 coming out next summer. Pixar actually has two movies coming out next year, Toy Story 5. And then in the spring, they've got this film called Hoppers. Now, have you seen, and there's a trailer out. Have either of you had a chance to see the Hoppers
Yeah,
trailer?
the robot like little beavers or gophers.
Yeah. That they say that I guess it's probably going to be a running joke in the film, but that it's not Avatar, right? That it's like somehow a human brain or a human gets inserted. I don't know. Is she going to the robot animal? I don't. I was a little unclear about that. But what? Any thoughts? Does this film look interesting to you? Do you think it's going to be just kind of weird or good, or what's your take?
Mm, it looks like a DreamWorks film.
I like what you said. Yeah.
you know the humans in the film look very DreamWorks esque. I will absolutely, though, just given the character design.
The scientist in the lab, and then
Yeah,
quirky, and they have these like weird senses of humor, and then like when the character like the critter, I don't what animal is that? Is that a
is it a? Um, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
little rodent?
Yeah, some kind of rodent,
Like
or possibly.
the girl is
Is it an otter? I'm just, I'm not sure.
whatever it is, like the the girl, like her mind gets put into the body of the robot beaver or whatever, and then she's kind of thrown out into the wild, and then realizes that these animals do talk, and they do talk to each other and stuff. So I think there could be some fun things about it. Just please don't make it a like some Illuminations or DreamWorks.
I know.
Yeah.
Exactly. I appreciate your sentiment on this, Mitch, because I saw it, and it was weird enough. I thought, okay, this could actually be really interesting and kind of, something different, funny too, or this is going to be a disaster. I don't know. I guess I'm feeling kind of on the fence. Have you had a chance to see this, Lily? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I
Uh,
think my initial I mean, I guess I'll say jury's out. This is probably one where my expectations are low,
yeah.
and I hope to be surprised.
There are three other Pixar films that are on the slate, and we know very little about them. But a film called Gato, or Gato, scheduled for 2027. There's just been one piece of concept art, and I think it's done by the same director as Luca. So, and I believe it's set in Italy. So I'm all for it. And Gatto means cat in Italian. So there's that. And from the little description, it sounds like it's like a mobster movie. So who knows? That's what we know next to nothing about it. But they had me at the director of Luca making another film about stuff in Italy. So I'm excited. That's why I'm excited about that. But who knows? Who knows if it's gonna be good? Have you heard anything else about Gatto or Gato?
No, I will say, like, as dumb as this sounds, I do kinda look at that art with the little cat, and it does look interesting. It looks
Yeah,
a little different, like, look there's kind of a vibe about it. So,
yeah, I thought so too. Isn't that's so cool? Just one piece of art, can really
yeah,
give
I'm
you an
curious.
idea
Yeah, I'm
of,
curious. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Mitch, have you got any opinions on
Um,
Gato?
no, I think I look forward to it. I look forward to learning more about it because we only have the very little about piece of information in that concept art and everything. But No, I look forward to it, and I like trust these particular movie makers to hopefully do a good thing. Um, eh, Speaking of hoppers, we go back a second. Am I the only dummy who, when they heard the title of this before they saw the artwork, they thought it was going to be a Bug's Life sequel?
Totally. Yes.
Good
100%. I
point.
totally did. Yes.
Like, wow, that's going back.
Are,
The
are we
grasshoppers
are
are
we
back.
getting are we getting a Bug's Life sequel from the point of view of the grasshoppers?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I
No, we're
totally
not.
thought that's where they were going. Yes.
Robot,
Good
robot.
point, Mitch.
I love that I wasn't the only one that thought that.
I think my first exposure to it was I saw the art too. I saw that animal, and so they seeing them together. I thought, oh, okay, I guess. But I hear you. You just hear the word, like, yeah.
You were
Think of
actually
think of Hopper.
weren't you in the room when they announced it?
Yeah, I was at. It was at a D23
23.
event that they had. That was last year. Yeah, last summer. Okay, two more things which we know nothing about other than they exist. Incredibles 3 is scheduled for 2028. Know nothing about it. I'm not sure Brad Bird is back. Maybe no, Brad Bird is maybe writing it. Maybe they announced that. I don't think he's directing it. And then there's going to be a Coco 2, which is TBA, and that one I'm not thinking money grab. But I guess we'll have to see. I actually isn't Lee Unkrich coming out of retirement for Coco 2? I've got to double check. I'm not 100% sure.
If he's involved, then yay for that.
Yeah, and I could be wrong. I could be absolutely wrong on that.
Please don't screw it up because we love the first one as we
Yeah.
I know. I think
Yeah.
I feel cautious because it also is the kind of movie where it was just wrapped up so perfectly and so
Perfectly.
beautifully that I'm just like, okay, don't, I don't, I mean, the only thing that can happen is Miguel is going to go back into the what am I trying to say? The underworld.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
The world of the dead, and I don't know. I feel cautious about it because like we can't rediscover music again. We can't resolve the family lineage again. Like so now we have to do something completely different than what the movie was about. And so yeah, I feel nervous about it.
And there's going to be enough time that's passed, in our time. But is Miguel an adult? You know what I mean? Like, what's
Yes, totally.
like?
Yeah, I'm hoping that it takes place kind of right after the first film where he's still a boy.
Yes, still is. Yeah, I'm not wanting to be overly cynical, but I know when Bob Iger came back to Disney, which I don't think was necessarily a bad thing, that he came
No.
back. But and I know this happened after that, but like the first thing that Bob Iger did when he came back was like, okay, we're making Toy Story 5 and we're making Frozen 3. Like we're making these films that you love, or sequels to these films that you love. And then I also kind of feel like this is just part of that. Okay, we're doing Coco 2 because it's a movie that you all love. And I think, well, I
It's
don't
like the
know.
most unimaginative cash grab idea.
I know. So it'll be interesting. Well, I guess we'll go into it again with cautious optimism, right? And
Yeah.
I'm more excited perhaps for the boat ride at Disney California Adventure.
yes. Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up, Mitch. I'm really excited for that too. Number one, it's a boat ride.
Yeah.
Which I know we all love.
Mitch loves the boat ride.
Yes, Mitch loves a good boat ride. Well, they're perfect. See, this works for a boat ride, don't you think?
Yeah.
And if it's a success, they'll definitely change the Epcot boat ride yet again.
Yeah.
And I love the original, honestly, but I think California Adventure needs another dark ride.
I do too. They need a family.
They really don't have any dark rides. They have like kind of,
they have that Little Mermaid ride, and really, that's basically there's that Monsters Inc. ride too, but that's going away.
So yeah, there's no boat ride other than like the raft ride, which doesn't count as like what we're talking about. So no, I think that the Coco franchise, luckily it wasn't like so popular that they like overdid things like they did with Frozen, but it was popular enough that maybe we do get a really good sequel out of it. And honestly, if I were to vote, I would say no, like no Coco sequel. I mean, Coco's dead. I mean, like the title of the
Yeah.
film was Coco, and that's okay. They could figure it out. I mean, I don't want to judge prematurely, but um, just don't mess it up. Give us something as equally good as the
Yeah,
first
give
one.
us a
Uh,
quality. Yeah.
do that, and we'll be fine. But
Eh,
if you mess this up and it's like a disaster, it's just going to kind of like put a bad taste in our mouths about the whole franchise.
Yeah. Cars 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, this has been an absolute delight. Thank you, Mitch and Lily, both. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. Thanks for sharing your great taste and knowledge in these films. It's been so much fun. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having us.
thank you. Yes, it's been very fun.
Well, that does it for this episode of the Movies Past and Present podcast. Huge thanks again to Mitch and Lily from ImagineeringDisney.com for joining me on the podcast today. Subscribe to the podcast where you listen to your podcasts. And follow me or send me feedback on Instagram. My handle is @StanfordClark. As always, I hope you will enjoy some good movies this week, whether they be from the past or the present. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, be safe out there and dedicate yourself to the truth.